Good morning and welcome to our panel discussion on the meaning of life. My name is Dr. John Heiduk. I'm the moderator and I guess your host for this morning's activities. We've put together a slate of panelists who are going to talk about the meaning of life. This panel has been put together by Michael Francisconi and the students in his honors seminar on that very topic, the meaning of life, in which the students are examining the nature of the world and our place in it, and looking at that particular question from a variety of perspectives, many of which are represented by our panelists this morning. So you can see we've got a fairly full stage. I'm going to introduce each of our participants and offer them the opportunity to come up to the microphone here and make a statement reflecting their particular point of view on the meaning of life. And following all of their statements, we'll take a brief break and return, and we'll open the floor to questions. I might mention that this isn't really set up to be a debate. The idea isn't to engage in arguments about relative merits back and forth, but really just to be exposed to a variety of ideas and perspectives that hopefully will help all of us figure out our own place in the world and the meaning of life. So, I don't think the folks are in order, so if you could raise your hand when I say your name, that'd be appreciated. Representing a Buddhist perspective, we have Tenzin Tenkyong. Speaking on behalf of American Indian beliefs, Michael Francisconi. Representing Judaism, Rabbi Chaim Baruch. Representing Baha'i, Dr. Delina Norris Tull. Speaking on behalf of the Natural Witch, Julia Clara Flores. Representing Islam, Rebecca Dahl and Vaidan Al-Obadan. Did I say that okay? Sorry. Representing an Eastern Orthodox Christian perspective, Father Russell Radosich and Reverend Deacon Daniel Kirk. Speaking on behalf of Roman Catholicism, Dr. Bill Janis. Taking the Methodist Church perspective, Reverend Maloney Martin Dent. Speaking on behalf of the Episcopal perspective, Reverend Sue Eads. Here from the Vineyard Church, Pastors Zane and Kathleen Springer. And our Baptist representative, Reverend Michael Moon. From the Presbyterian Church, Reverend David Andrew. Taking the LDS perspective, Bishop Kirk Van Slyke. And speaking on behalf of secular humanism, again, Michael Francisconi. And representing the scientific method, Dr. Rob Thomas. So, without further ado, I think we'll just go in the order that I read the names. And I'll remind people in case you forgot where you were on the list. And we'll start off with our Buddhist representative, Mr. Tenzin Tenkyong.
What do you say first? Good morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you to John and the rest of the staff for putting on this stuff, and thank you for inviting me, thinking me to be able to represent Buddhism. In Buddhism, we have no high leader. So my favorite teacher is the Dalai Lama, but also Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh and other teachers. And all Buddhists are asked to be skeptical in their intelligence and rationality in how they explore life. And we are just presented with the Four Noble Truths. All sentient beings have suffering in their life. The suffering is self-caused. There is a way out of the suffering, and the way out of the suffering is the teachings of the historical Buddha, referred to as the Dharma. And the Buddha was not a god, is not a god. I guess I'm one of the few on the deist today that is talking from a non-theist attitude. Forgive me for having a computer in front of me, but I could go on for 45 minutes and maybe not get to the point, so I'm trying to be here in only a few minutes and let me set my timer so I'll be fair to everybody in my surroundings. The meaning of life, I could do it in one sentence: be happy. sounds kind of slim, doesn't sound very challenging. Who do you answer to? It all comes down to what is happiness, I guess. And as a regular human being, I'm not an ordained or anything like that within Buddhism. I'm just an everyday person that works as a waiter and lives in Livingston and drives an '87 Volkswagen. So I just live life, that's all. And what is happiness? Well, I think we all experience happiness. We all experience sadness. So is this the happiness I'm talking about? No, the happiness I'm talking about is a happiness that comes from the Buddhist viewpoint of the liberation from our suffering. Okay, that's enough. Well, how do we get to this liberation? What is this suffering? The suffering basically revolves around the idea that we delude ourselves, that we are so separate, and especially speaking as an American-born citizen raised in this culture during the Eisenhower years, raised to be very individualistic. Be true to yourself. Watch out for yourself. Maybe don't care about anybody else in the most greedy aspects of American culture. For some reason, I just didn't buy into that all my life. And so I started a search. I had to give up my Roman Catholicism because we came at odds over violence, mechanized, organized violence of war. And I was up against the Vietnam draft, and I felt that I could not kill somebody across the world under orders of my government because I would not want to be killed by somebody else from the orders of their government. And yet my church that I had given 18 years to did not come out with blanket statements about not going to war. And when I used Roman Catholicism as my conscientious objector status, I was laughed out of the draft board. We don't have to go into my history about Vietnam, we just go on to how did I get to Buddhism. And Buddhism one day came to me because I got to listen to the Dalai Lama in a telecast from Albuquerque. And I had lived 30 years as a secular humanist. And so when the moderator asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama, what is Buddhism? And I think that's pertinent to what is the meaning of life, a spiritual journey. He said, oh, all sentient beings deserve to be happy, to have the basic creature comforts, and to live their life. And I was like, oh, on my palm I checked off my checklist. Same things I was believing in and living my life according. But then I was like, oh, somebody else has already invented this wheel. I'm not a good mechanic, why should I, or an engineer, why should I invent a whole new wheel? I'll investigate this avenue, a 2,500-year history of living according to the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Time is running out for all of us and for me and for my words. To be happy. The meaning of life is to live, not just exist. To value the opportunities we have to grow in our understanding, our compassion, and wisdom towards ourselves and all sentient beings. The Dalai Lama is famous that he can teach for 10 days. And when he answered with those 3 simple sentences, he said that, I could teach for many days, but still down to those same 3 sentences. So, next question. And as I delve into Buddhism over these last years, especially since 2004 when I took refuge, the Buddha asks us to always be skeptical. Some of you have a handout that I gave out. And one of the first things for the 14 precepts of engaged Buddhism, number 1 is do not be idolatrous about or bound to any doctrine, theory, or ideology, even Buddhist ones. Buddhist systems of thought are guiding, means they are not absolute truth. So I'm not here to tell you that I'm a representative of a philosophy that has the magic pill or the book that answers everything. I'm only here to tell you that I treat everybody as the Dalai Lama asked me to treat everybody I meet as they were my mother in a previous life, or my father, or my uncle, or my favorite relative. With that, I'm able to be open to empathizing and exercising compassion. I hope to gain a little ounce of wisdom as I gain the next few decades before death comes. But death could come tomorrow, and so at least I am exercising compassion. When I meet you, I smile, I say thank you, and I wish you well. You are like me, and I think we all agree we want to be happy and not unhappy. And how do we get there? And living according to the Eightfold Path will help us to become the person that we want to be. And the Eightfold Path just reminds us to live according to, very succinctly to wrap it up, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Once again, how do you answer this question in just a few minutes? That's my best effort. Thank you for your attention.
We were going to have a Salish spiritual elder, Julie Kajun, speak, but she couldn't make it. I'm not Salish, so I will speak as if I was Navajo. I spent 6 years on the Navajo, and this class that I'm teaching now compares Navajo philosophy, Diné philosophy, with Tibetan Buddhism, because I was on the reservation for 6 years, working very closely with medicine men and medicine women, and 4 out of those 6 years, Tibetan monks came to the Navajo because they felt a spiritual connection. Okay, the meaning of life for the Navajo is be happy. Basically, according to the Navajos, we are in the 4th world. There was a black world of the insect people, a blue world of the bird people, a yellow world of the 4-leggeds, and a white world of the 2-leggeds. And when we learned all that's possible to learn from each of these worlds, and when our lack of balance became more than we could deal with, we emerged into the next world. The sky above us will be the floor or the earth of the next world. And this world too will end and will merge into the 5th world, which is only temporary. And it too will end. And it will merge into a 6th world and a 7th and an 8th and so forth. Everything that comes into being ceases to exist and creates the opportunity for new life. Okay, according to the Navajos then, in my left hand, I hold the bow. We need protection. In my left hand, I hold the bowl. We need blessings. If either of these get out of balance, we are unhealthy. Diné philosophy holds there is no such thing as sin. There is lack of balance. And if the balance becomes serious enough, it can kill us, it can damage us, it can destroy us. And so we need to have continuously efforts to bring us back into balance. If we bring us back into balance, both the protections and the blessings create happiness. As the Navajos like to say, there's beauty in front of me, beauty behind me, beauty all around me. I walk the rainbow path. Okay, I'm sorry. I spent too long with these people. Okay, so basically then, everything that exists for a reason, and we need to use that in a moderate but balanced manner. One of my more intelligent students I've ever had asked me yesterday about jealousy. And what could possibly be good about jealousy? Well, if I'm jealous because my partner is talking to somebody else, that's a clear indication I need to work on my relationship. Jealousy in and of itself is not wrong. What is wrong is letting it control you. So basically, it's a clear warning to me I need to sit down and work on my relationship. So everything that exists, anger, hate, rage, love, compassion, sex, within a certain context, acts as guides through in life so we can walk the rainbow path. The rainbow path then is a path in which everything becomes balanced. Every day I try to be the best Michael I can. And every day, at the end of the day, I see if I could have improved. If I could improve, then tomorrow I'll try to be a better Michael. So in Navajo philosophy, there is no real sin. There is a constant effort to regain health through bringing both parts together. I'll tell you a couple of stories. When we emerged on the fourth world, the people became lazy and stupid and fought among themselves. And so, Sun, our father, created monsters to bring people back into respect. But the monsters got out of control and started killing people and eating people. They were out of balance. And so basically, Changing Woman, White Woman, Mother Earth, asked her two sons, one born of water and Monster Slayer, to save the people, the Dene, the Navajo. And so she said, your father is the sun. And so they traveled the rainbow path to go ask the sun for help to take care of the monsters. Well, as they traveled to meet the sun asked them, how do I know that you are my sons? And they told the son about Changing Woman, and he knew that they were his sons. And they told him what the monsters were doing. And that wasn't their agenda, so they were out of balance. So the son grew very, very, very sad, because the monsters are also his children. And he knew that the monsters had to be slain in order for the people to survive. And so he says, give me 3 days to mourn the loss of my children. And so the sun stood still for 3 days. Take it from the Bible. The sun stood still for 3 days. Okay, so basically he gave the twins the tools whereby to rid the earth of the monsters. That's our protection. Okay. Once the monsters, except for 3, old age, illness, and disease, those 3 monsters stayed with us, then the world was purged. So from this we learned that everything is important. If somebody breaks into my house and threatens my family, I will do what is ever necessary to defend them. That is protection. But if protection is not balanced by love and compassion, then that protection becomes violence, and it is dangerous. Okay, so basically then, what we see here then we need to have some way of bringing it in. Okay. Another story I want to tell you is the original people, there was no death. And according to the Navajos, anyway, my body comes from the earth. And I told my class this yesterday. Every day I take in food. Every day I have cells die. The toxins are excreted from my body. So when I was 12 years old, and now I'm 67, I probably have very few molecules that are the same in my body now as when I had it when I was 12. I'm constantly replenishing myself from the earth. Every time I breathe or breathe in, I'm breathing in from the universal soul. And that universal soul basically is the life force of everything in the universe. So when I die, my soul goes back to the universal force and becomes indistinguishable from everything that will live in the future. This teaches us then that death is absolutely necessary and not to be feared, because without death, then new generations will not thrive. The story I was told is before death was introduced, the sun was getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because there's too many people on the planet. 1 minute. So basically then, if death is not to be feared and life is to be enjoyed, then we need to walk the rainbow path and seek happiness, and happiness comes from balance. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rabbi Chaim Brook. I'm an Orthodox Jewish rabbi originally from Brooklyn, New York. Now from Bozeman. I'm 32 years old and I love my religion. Although, I have to say that I'm not... How many of you have ever met an Orthodox Jew before? Okay, 50, 40, no, how many percent? But chances are you never met us because we never knock on doors trying to proselytize people. We have enough trouble with the Jews that we have that we don't look for any new ones. We have a lot of fun. Even Orthodox Jews, yes, we do follow a lot of laws, 613 biblical laws. 248 of them are positive laws, 365 of them are prohibitions that we don't do. Judaism is actually not really a religion, although it's considered the world's oldest religion, the first religion, so you could blame it all on us. We started this whole phenomenon of religions, dating back to Abraham about 4,000 years ago, and then the actual giving of the Old Testament, the Torah, the Bible at Sinai 3,322 years ago with Moses. And so, but we're not really a religion, because a religion can mean many things, and in our philosophy, Judaism is a way of life. You can't, there's laws for how you behave in the bathroom, how you behave in the bedroom, how you behave in the kitchen, how you behave with your friends, how you behave with your parents, how you behave with everyone. There's nothing in your life that isn't guided by our faith, that isn't guided by our religion, and we enjoy life while we're experiencing it. You know, I had a teacher that once told me, he says, Chaim, are you alive because you're alive, or are you alive because you weren't hit by a truck? And that's a question I ask myself almost every day since he asked me that, Rabbi Wolberg. Every time I see him, I remind him of that question, because some people happen to be around because, you know, for whatever reason, they didn't crash their car or a truck didn't drive into them, so they happen to be on earth for another day. And if you live your life where you exist in this world, I wouldn't call it living, but if you exist in this world just by the mere fact that no one killed you, that's a pretty sad state of affairs. In Judaism, we believe that you need to be alive, and to be alive for a Jew means to live the life of the Torah, to live a life embodied by the precepts that were given by Moses at Sinai. We don't feel Judaism as, Orthodox Jews don't consider Judaism to be a burden. We love it. We know there's a lot of restrictions. When I tell people I've never had ham or bacon in my life, they look at me like this poor guy. When I tell people I never had marital relations with anyone until I got married at the age of 24, they're like, oh, this poor soul. But the truth is, it creates an infrastructure for life. It creates guidance, boundaries that really brings about the best in life. And so when you have boundaries, you actually enjoy whatever it is you're allowed to enjoy, whatever it is. Intimacy, for example, is one of the greatest things in Judaism. When it's done properly with the right people, not with every second person you meet in a bar. And so life is really about, there is no life without having God in the picture. There is no life without experiencing the Torah in your life. It's one and the same. It's like you tell a Jew, hey, can you be Jewish without the Torah? Sure, you'll be Jewish, but it's like asking a fish if it'll be a fish without water. You know, the famous analogy that the Talmud gives in the oral tradition is that the fox tells the fish, come hang out with me on the dry land over here. And the fish says, you eat it, because otherwise the fishermen are going to catch you. And the fish says, the fishermen may catch me, they may not catch me, but if I come out of the water, I'm not going to survive. And so throughout history, Jews have fought. Unfortunately, we had to defend ourselves from other religions in the process who tried to get rid of us because they didn't like the fact that we were celebrating Judaism, but yet we self-sacrificed. We sometimes lost life itself because we were defending or fighting for our traditions, because we knew that life is not a life without your traditions. And so what Judaism does, we don't proselytize, we don't try to convert people, we try to ask everyone to live a life that's a healthy balance. You can't have a life that's only about social justice, about being good to your neighbor, without God, and you can't have a life that's all about your relationship with God, that's not about a good relationship with fellow human beings. There has to be a healthy balance. You have to treat every human being the way you want to be treated, love your neighbor as yourself, and embody that. And then you'll be able to inspire them with this concept of life, with this beauty of life, without having to hurt anyone in the process. If the minute you have to put a sword to someone and say, hey, you better follow my religion or you're out, that should give you some indication about, do you really feel confident about your religion? Don't you think you'd be able to inspire them with your religion if it actually meant something true to you? And so our fervent hope and faith, perhaps a little different than most of my Christian colleagues here on the stage, is that there's two things. Number one, most of the people on the stage believe that the Messiah will come. Except in Judaism, we believe it's going to be his first coming, and the Christians believe it's the second coming. I always tell my Christian colleagues, well, ask him when he comes, have you been here before? And if he says he's been here before, we'll know that you guys were right. And if he says, hey, it's my first time around, we'll know that, the Jews were right. And the other thing is that I'm going to conclude with this. I spent a lot of time in Oklahoma City, on the buckle of the Bible Belt, and there was a big billboard on the I-44 right in the middle of Oklahoma City that said, don't make me come down there, signed God. As if it was some big threat that if God shows up, who knows what's going to happen. I was like, what kind of God is that you're scared of? And in Judaism, it's the total opposite. We believe that all these good deeds that we do, the balance that we live of life with God and other human beings, is actually the goal of it all is to make God come down here. It's our belief that prior, when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, life was good and God was revealed. And then after the people sinned in the various generations, God became more and more concealed. And after He gave the Torah, the Bible at Sinai, He gave us the opportunity now by living a godly lifestyle to bring the revelation back to the world. And every time we do a good deed, every time we live life the way God wants us to live life, we're revealing more and more godliness in the world. And the ultimate of all of that is that when we reveal enough godliness in the world, the Messiah will come, usher in an era of peace and tranquility for all of humanity. May it be speedily in our days. Amen.
Can you hear me okay? I'm Delina Norris Tal, and I'm a member of the Baha'i Faith. Baha'is are followers of Baha'u'llah, who we consider to be the fulfillment of prophecies of all previous divine messengers of God, including the prophecies of Abraham, Moses, Isaiah, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad. We believe that each of these divine messengers was given to humanity by God to provide continuous guidance throughout human history. The purpose of creation, we are told by Baha'u'llah, is love. Love for each other, love for ourselves, and love for God. The meaning of suffering in life is to force us to develop spiritual qualities. Our time in the physical world is very limited, typically no more than 80 or 90 years. But it's a very short time in our whole life, because we have a spiritual life after we die. But our physical life has a very strong purpose, because it's the life in which we suffer. It's the life in which we develop many, many spiritual qualities. And who among us who are parents doesn't know that we wouldn't have developed very much patience if it weren't for the fact that we raise children? So suffering is all about being a better human being. Baha'u'llah, speaking as the word of God, said, "O Son of Man, I love thy creation, hence I created thee. Wherefore do thou love me, that I may name thy name and fill thy soul with the spirit of life. O Son of Being, love me, that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee." Baha'is work with governments and organizations and other religions worldwide to help establish peace, because we believe that the ultimate goal of love is peace. We believe that we will have a worldwide peace at some time in history, and it's our purpose in life to help promote that peace. Baha'u'llah said, when a thought of war comes, oppose it by a stronger thought of peace. A thought of hatred must be destroyed by a more powerful thought of love. Baha'u'llah also said, it is not for him to pride himself who loveth his own country, but rather for him who loveth the whole world. The world is but one country, and mankind its citizens. Baha'u'llah's grandson, Shoghi Effendi, explained that the Baha'i faith upholds the unity of God, recognizes the unity of God's prophets, and includes the principle of the oneness and wholeness of the whole entire human race. The Baha'i faith, moreover, enjoins upon its followers the duty of an unfettered search for truth, condemns all manner of prejudice and superstition, declares the purpose of religion to be the promotion of love and concord, proclaims the essential harmony of science and religion, and recognizes religion as the foremost agency for the peace and orderly progress of human society. I became a Baha'i 34 years ago when, after studying the Baha'i faith for a couple of years, I finally realized that becoming a Baha'i didn't mean I had to reject the teachings of my childhood. I was raised as a Christian, but rather that the Baha'i faith would enable me to embrace the divine messengers of all previous religions while celebrating and practicing the teachings and laws of the most recent manifestation of God, Baha'u'llah. A few of the teachings of the Baha'i Faith: we believe that clergy are no longer needed to explain the Holy Scriptures to people. Each individual has the capacity to study and understand the Holy Scriptures for themselves. Therefore, we have no clergy. We also believe that it is finally time in human history for women to take their rightful place in the world in equality with men. In fact, we believe that world peace is not possible until women are given their rightful place. We believe that there's only one God, and that all of the major religions of the world come from that same God. Therefore, I think of myself as a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, and a Baha'i. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. That's really loud. When I was asked to do this, we were looking into having one of my friends that's an international author that has an established craft coming and speaking, but he didn't do public talks. So I was asked if I could describe my spirituality in 2 words, and I said natural witch. But I suppose that could also go into being a mystic, or with how I look at things, I could fall into any number of religions just with my own interpretation. I was asked last year if I felt like I was Baha'i by one of my friends, and I was, no, because while I believe a lot of things that seem to be universal truths, and the truth does not need to be defended, it just is. I don't believe that there is necessarily one God, and I don't believe in sin. I believe that there is a central creative force within the universe, but that there are a lot of different sections of that, just like there are a lot of different Americans. And so different people connect with different pieces of that based on what they consider comfortable to them. And what is comfortable is not always what is healthy, but that doesn't really need to be gone into. I believe that the meaning of life is for us to all work together towards an ascension of soul, which could be an ascension of energy, raising vibrational levels. It could be finding world peace. It could be any number of things. My head is shaking a little bit. I've never done anything like this before. And I don't believe in sin. I don't believe in mistakes necessarily. I believe that as long as you learn from something, it has purpose. As long as whatever you've done is leading you and helping others to find their ascension and their contentment, which is a spiritual contentment. And it's kind of like what he was talking about with happiness, that it is positive. It might not feel pleasant, but over the long course of things, it is positive. And everything is energy. And so I'm a natural witch. This is just one sect of all of the variations of witchcraft that there are, but there are green witches who are considered natural witches, which I do fall into sometimes. And they are people that work with herbs and cooking and within nature. But what I'm coming from with being a natural witch is being somebody that can reduce a lot of energy and put my thoughts out there and see things very easily manifested before me. Who knows if I'm actually doing things on a physical, subconscious level that are making those things happen or not. I'm not fully aware. But even if that is the case, and even if we are all wrong, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, because we're going back into the earth, we're going back into the universe, we are part of the universe. And so if the only time that we experience these spiritual truths of our own is when we are here in a physical being, then that is the best way that our energy had to be interpreted through the human brain. And I feel like I've done all right for not having a paper on me, but that's what I have. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Wijdan and I have been facing some difficulties with people pronouncing my name. That's fine, I used to it, so people here call me Danny. This is my American name. So anyways, I'm a Muslim, but what I'm gonna talk about here today is just representing me and myself and not representing my religion that I follow. So when you ask about the meaning of life, in our holy book, the life has been mentioned in two ways. There is the life that we're living now, like body, physical things, happiness, sadness, food, whatever kind of pleasure that we're actually experiencing every day here. And there's the other life that was mentioned also, which is after this life, like after death. So basically in my religion, we believe in after death life. So it's basically, I think all the three, like there's also Christian who believe in the same thing and the Jewish. So like we're all believe in the same, I think, pattern. Anyways, so for that concept, like in our holy book, it has been mentioned that Adam, we know Adam and Eve story, of course, everybody here. So we believe that Adam was created by two main things, which is earth or sand, or whatever is it we call it, and the other thing is the soul, which was given by God. So that will make you understand clearly what actually Islam is like, the view of life in Islam. So the body is made from earth. When you die, your body will come back to earth.